All right, welcome back, guys, to another edition of the Pocket Change Market Report. Yes, I did forget to put the word report at the end, but you guys should know by now that's exactly what this is. I am your host, Sean, with BlueRidgeSilverhound. Welcome. So this report is for September 28th, 2022. It's the final one for the month. Can't believe I'm saying that. The month of September was simply just a blur. And when it came to the market for errors and varieties, man, it was quite active. There was a lot of sales made, a lot of just some of the bygone coins from the last 24 months. We're seeing them pop back up onto the marketplace, and how appropriate to, as well, because generally this time of year, going into the holidays, is where business begins to pick up for these coins. More people are hunting through change. More people are rolling up their coin and taking them to the bank in preparation for the holidays. So there's a lot that can be said about this time of year that makes it a really great hobby to be a part of right at this specific time. So as you guys know, we talk about all of the most mainstream errors and varieties that people like yourselves and me as well have found going through change, coin rolls, direct from the bank, also cherry picking some of your local coin shops and a regional show. All does the trick, right? You could add something really epic to your collection that you've paid next to nothing for, or you could turn around and resell it and make it kind of a supplemental income. I do that all the time and do really well at it. But a lot of the coins, again, are ungraded. That's an extra added expense that we don't need to play into the mix. I do a Pocket Change Market Report graded edition about twice a month. We're due for one here probably next week after the first of the month, so stay tuned for that one. Quick little note before we jump into the report. A lot of my viewing audience in the southeast region of the U.S. is currently going through a little bit of a stormy weather pattern in the name of Hurricane Ian. And I wanted to wish you guys safe travels. Hopefully you guys were able to board up your businesses and your homes and make it to a safe place, because this thing is off the rails strong. All right. I think, Category 4 is where it was at last time I heard. Might have changed. But I'm a guy that lived in Florida for a number of years. I know exactly what you guys are going through. Yeah, it's crazy weather, and I wish you guys lots of safety. And, I'll catch up with you guys here as soon as it's safe for you guys. So let's go ahead and jump right into the PCMR. Again, all activity from the last 36 to 48 hours. We're going to kick it off here with a 1996p Roosevelt dime. This is a broad struck error. This occurs when the collar that holds the coin in place during the striking process is absent. Call it a malfunction of sorts, which happens. The metal flow has to go somewhere, so it goes outwards, makes a coin like this probably bigger than a Lincoln cent, and it's slightly smaller than a nickel. That's how big they get. What's really cool about this coin is that there is also a little bit of detached reading that's kind of folded over right here. That happens on occasion with these type of errors. But really a smooth looking coin right here. This one sold for $19. And while the market for Roosevelt dime error collectors isn't that broad and deep, like you would associate with Lincoln cents or Washington quarters, there is still some interest from this particular series. The next one that we have here is one of my favorites. This is a 3-cent nickel. All right, good old early U.S. type coins. I love them. This is my bread and butter here. So we have 1866 3-cent Liberty nickel. It is indeed one of the more readily available dates, along with 1865. And they all seem to have pretty cool die clashing, much like this one that you see here. Like over the word America, it goes down to the date. But that's not the only reason why that this coin is on the list. I would say the coin is in fantastic shape. Call it maybe at the least an AU condition coin. When we look up close here, we see a doubled last final digit of the date, doubled 6. So this is a repunched date. for those of you that are familiar with these older coins pre-1900, the actual numbers of the date were punched individually into the working dies. So that's why you've seen some pretty funny looking dates on some of the older coins. Maybe a certain number shifted a little bit higher, or maybe they're like too crowded together. That's the reason why. There was really no kind of like firm grasp on the tolerances of where in the date and the numbers all belong to. So even things like this happens, where that final 6 was repunched a couple times, showing a very dramatic looking repunch there. This one right here ended up selling for $84.95. There was a little bit of a premium here, not too much, because the coin is in really nice shape. The next one that we have here was actually misdiagnosed by the seller. All right, he attributed this as being a broad stroke error, and let me tell you why that's false. Number one, you have very strong rims on this. All right, and they're very tight up to the letters, the devices that are right to the edge there. And you'll notice that the rim is complete until you get to the very bottom of the coin, if you're looking at the front, where there's considerable weakness. And it also shows on the reverse as well in that same spot. So what we have here is something called a tapered planchet. That's where the blank planchet was actually rolled a little bit thinner on that side. So when the coin is struck, that thinner area of the coin will not strike up all of the devices. Hopefully I didn't lose you there. So that's kind of like the byproduct that you see here on this 1954 nickel. Great catch, by the way, from the seller, even recognizing that this is an error. It didn't sell for a ton of money. It sold for only $5.99, but that sure is better than a wet slap. I will tell you that. And I'm not even sure that even adding tapered planchet into the listing title would even make too much difference, because this is kind of like a low end of the totem pole level of error coin. Our first piece of currency is quite a minor one, so you would have to have an eagle eye when you're searching through currency. But we definitely have a little bit of a misalignment from the first and third print here. You can see that the serial numbers are tight up against the the Treasury signature in Washington, D.C., and you'll notice that the green district seal is a little bit further south than where it should be. So this is a 2003 A series $1 bill, still relatively recent. And then things like this that are quite minor, so I'm proud to say that they still have a lot of interest. This note ended up selling for $23 at the end of the day. There's a little bit of a reverse shot, just showing the general circulation wear. Nothing too fancy. I mean, it's a spent, worn note, and you better best believe that people will still buy notes in this condition. Now, we didn't have much in the way of bulk lots, all right? This is probably the extent of it here, but we have a lot of 2 Jefferson nickels, both with a curved clip, as it appears. They seem to be early 1960s. That coin on the left looks like a 1964. Looks like the bottom foot of a 4. It might be, might not be. You just never know. It could be a 1961. But yeah, we have a couple clips here. If we look on the reverse, you can see that as well. Pretty evident. And this 2 coin lot sold for $16.19. Something to keep in mind: if you cannot sell these singularly, you can always group them together in lots and sell them. Again, clips are quite minor in the error world, and therefore they won't command nearly as much, especially for singular clips. If a coin has multiple clips, then we're talking. There'd say be coins that will gain a little bit more bidding activity, more desirability in the market. Oh, here's another 1960s nickel. This one, however, is worth a little bit more to a collector. It's a 1964 Philadelphia minted piece here. Take a look at the reverse. You have what appears to be a strike through over 5 cents and then United States of America there. So there was probably a fair sized amount of grease on that reverse die prior to this strike, and then that's why you have a lot of weakness there almost like a shallow crater of sorts. This particular coin ended up selling for $31.91, if you could believe that. That's quite a nice, healthy amount of cash for this fair-weathered nickel. So when you do come across stuff like this that look and appear like this, keep in mind that you might have something there. Another nickel, this time just a really nice off-center struck 1977 P. Jefferson. It's about 50% off-center from what I could gather. Really nice looking coin here. This particular one sold for $63.90, and that's quite a bit of money. Based off of the sale price, I'm willing to bet that this one is a little bit more on the scarce side as far as its date, because people do collect these by date. They want just the full run of off-center struck nickels, and of course, when you come across one that's a little bit of a stopper, that's going to inflate the value of them to what the perceived market is, and that's only because you have a number of people kind of like chopping for it. So there you go. Really nice, huge sale here on this one. Oh boy, another early US type. This one's quite interesting because this is a misaligned dies error. So the reverse of the coin is grossly misaligned. However, misaligned dies, from what we know, we typically see the front or the obverse of the coin more misaligned than the reverse. So this is kind of like, you know, a flip 180 of the script here. I guess the anvil die was a little bit loose. So every time it struck another coin, there's a little bit of play in that die, therefore creating shifts in that strike. The front of the coin will be perfectly centered, but the reverse will show kind of like an off-center look to it. Pretty decent, although very well worn. You could pick up worn Flying Eagles for under $20 out in the market today. They're just not nearly as desirable, but if you find one with an error like this, or a cut, or amazing die cracks, then they'll be worth a lot more. This one sold for $47 with 25 bids collected to that amount. Another cool, later dated Washington quarter with an off-center strike. This one's off-center by a little bit, probably like 7-8%, not really too much. But it's a 1984 P. We've seen this date in this type of error before on the market. And this one sold for $31.80, and that's with 16 bids. Our next piece of currency is one that we're all too familiar with. You can see that line void there on the right side of the note. They call this a gutter fold error. So the sheet that this note was born from had a wrinkle or a number of wrinkles that were never stretched out prior to the printing of this note, or the sheet rather. So there's probably a number of notes that have the same type of gutter. Maybe they're a little bit shifted to the left at that point, but when the actual wrinkle isn't stretched out and it's printed over, that's going to leave what they call a gutter, or a unprinted area from where that particular anomaly is. When we look at the back, you also note that the gutter is visible in the reverse, again showing that the wrinkle was never stretched or pressed out prior to this printing as well. This one, pretty big sale, $206.89 with 24 bids. I leave it to my boy Coins and Cards to throw up another amazing coin. This is an 1864 L on ribbon Indian headset. This thing is pretty nice. This thing is in really nice shape. It has a lot of character. You can see some of the stress cracks on the obverse of the coin, which is really quite cool. But this one right here is a coin that is most notable for its snow varieties. There's actually quite a few of them for this particular date, and most specifically repunch dates, which is what this one is. You can see the repunched 1 and 8, and you can even see a little bit of the 6 as well. So this coin in this condition is sold for $503, which is a huge amount of money. That's with 25 bids. Another thing to keep in mind with the L on ribbon, on the much more worn examples, if you can't see the L on Lady Liberty's ribbon, that's right in the hair, you could always take a look at the tip of the bust. If it's nice and pointy, more than likely that is an L on ribbon. All right, here's another good one, an oldie but goodie. This is what looks to be a 1980 Lincoln Memorial cent that was struck through a late stage capped die. So there was actually a coin that was stuck to the hammer die during the process of striking up all the other coins. It just never broke free. So things like that do happen, and after many strikes with this so-called cap sitting on the die, it's going to stretch out, right? And it's part of the wear and tear process. So when it stretches out quite a bit, it's going to allow some of the original devices from the dies to strike through the very thin cap and then onto the coin. So that's why you're able to see things like a partial date. You can see Liberty. You can see the motto, "In God We Trust," to an extent. And then, of course, you can see the outline of good old Abraham Lincoln on there. So this one ended up selling for $27.99. Just regular, really, really reliable sales for these type of errors. And it's not going to stop. People do love these. So this seller had a couple of really, really minor cud die breaks. This is a 2000 Lincoln Memorial. You can see the cud right here. Piece of the die had cracked and fallen off at one point. This is, by the way, a very common area for cuds on Lincolns because you just look at the area between the bust of Lincoln and that edge, and understand that that's where a lot of wear and tear happens on these. So pretty good catch from the seller. $14.99 was the final sale price. Again, just really reliable sales from one of the top errors that you could find out there. And then we also have a 1986. This one's not nearly as nice. It's got a little circulation, but you can see that cud there in the same general area. This one also sold for $14.99. All right, so the Indian heads will not stop, and this represents a really good opportunity. And, I'm going to use kind of like this series as a great jumping off point for a lot of newer collectors and cherry pickers of varieties. If you want to find some pretty neat stuff, buy a magnifier, which costs less than $10. Make sure it's about 10 times power or more, and get to work. Go to coin shops where they sell a bunch of these. Unattributed. Dealers don't really care about these, but if you care about it, it could be quite the coup. You can make a lot of money. So this one right here has repunched 1, 8, 9, and top of the 1. So all 4 digits of this particular one was repunched. This is also snow number 3 for the attribution. This coin ended up selling for $85, but based off of the general condition of this coin, it looks like something you could buy for like $5 or less. All right, it's not a high-end piece, probably more like a low-end VF 20 because you do have a partial Liberty on there, but still a really good cherry pick. You find this and just enjoy the cash. That's all I can say about that. All right, we got another one of these from the same seller, this time on a 1998. You can see the cud there at the base of Lincoln's bust again. Another one. So this one, again, sold for $14.99. And these are all quite minor. All right. I mean, they're cuds. And we do know that cuds are king in the error market today. They just really hit the stride with sales data. And people love them. People collect these. And this is kind of like the entry level point for a cud die break. While not spectacular, it's still a little bit of an investment to get into it. All right, I forgot that these things existed, but here we go. 2021 Lincoln Shield Cent. Check out that thing on the reverse. That was an area on the die that had quite a bit of grease and debris, metal shavings and various other things, dirt, grime, dust, you name it. So when it strikes through onto coins, it's going to leave a crater that looks like that. Do not spend these. They are naked eye visible, and they are quite valuable. All right, people have found quite a few of these over the course of the last 3 years of Lincoln cent production. And they go all the way back to like 2015. So there's a number of these that you can find, and they all come in different sizes and shapes. This coin is just 1 year removed from its release. So this one right here ended up selling for $22.50 with 7 bids. There are some with much bigger strike-throughs that sell for many multiples of what this one did. Now this one's really cool. Yet again, another creative way to highlight rotated die errors. So by using the staples on the 2x2 holder on this, what is this, the 1991D Jefferson nickel, we've come to the determination that this one is indeed rotated dies errors. So when you flip the coin over north to south like you normally would, they call this a coin turn, you'll notice that the reverse die is rotated about, what did I say here, 160 degrees counterclockwise. That is pretty major. And even in this condition, ladies and gents, wow, someone paid a pretty good amount of money for this one. This one ended up selling for $28.52 with 14 bids, which is a very healthy amount of money given its widely circulated look. So you can find these in both Philadelphia and Denver mints, and whichever ones you can find. Man, keep them, hold on to them, assemble a set, or resell them. They have quite the nice secondary market. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that. This is one of those errors that people really don't pay attention to because it's like too much extra work to flip the coin over. So for all you roll hunters, take note of that. Well, this one's pretty neat. I've seen this one, talked about it before. Rhode Island Statehood Quarter 2001P with the reverse cut. You can see it there about 9 o'clock. All right, so yeah, notable. This one is attributed on Cuds on Coins, the website. This one sold for $11.50 with 6 bids. More Cuds, guys. This is the biggest one. Well, actually, there's one other one. Yeah, I mean, you guys probably know what it is, but we have this 1980 Lincoln. Check out that massive blob on the front of the coin. So that was a great big piece of the die that had fallen off. And yeah, this is the byproduct right here. $167 was the final ask, and someone did bite on it. So really nice sale, impressive coin. These are still out there for the taking. So the seller thought that this one might be a struck through cap die, but it's not. All right, you got really, really strong rims on the front of the coin. Plus, you also have a lot of the weakness kind of relegated to the outward edges of the coin, but you do have some weakness on the middle of the coin. Not quite as bad. This is just struck through. A lot of grease, a lot of crap was on that die when this thing was struck. There was no cap or anything like that. This one right here sold for $22.50 with 12 bids. So here's that other big cud. I figure we go ahead and talk about it because these things sell weekly now. There's quite a few of them. Wilma Mankiller Quarter with that cud right on the obverse. You can see it right there above Washington's head. This one has the beginnings of a crack that goes through the star and it ends up somewhere here in the middle. Always a popular one. This one looks like it's seen its fair share of circulation, however. And that should play a role in decreasing its value, right? Well, maybe a little bit. This one still sold for a huge chunk. $311 with 24 bids. Come get you some. These are still out there. It's still one of the newest coins out there. And yeah, if you're in the southeast region of the U.S., aside from Hurricane Ian, there is another storm brewing in your pocket change. And it's this coin here. Here's one of my favorite varieties to hunt for. This is just a fair weather 1946 Walking Liberty $50. Check your bulk silver for things like this. This is actually double to die reverse FS801, showing lots of doubling. You'll go blind if you look at things like E pluribus unum. You can see doubling on these feathers here as well. But also check out these feathers. Man, that couldn't be any more obvious, the doubling here, and then the doubled leg of the eagle. It's all good stuff. So even a coin in this condition, which normally would be like $6-7 melt value. Yeah, it's worth a little bit more. This one sold for $40.04 with 16 bids. And our last two items of this week's PCMR, it's going to be another 2013 B duplicate star note. So this is the Fort Worth printing. As you guys know, the 2013 Bs have a serial number range. As long as it has a 0 starting out, you're probably in pretty good shape. But I would probably audit this information on my currency collection. And you'll know that you have a duplicate star because it's going to ask you if you wanted to choose the DC print or the Fort Worth print. But this is actually a crisp uncirculated note directly from a strap. All right. And because of that, these notes have generally sold for like $15 to $25 on average. But an uncirculated example like this sold for $67. All right. Can you imagine if someone found the pairing for this? They have at least 50% of a really nice tandem. This note will probably end up grading like a 65 or something like that if you send it off to a grader. So there's the original bank strap that this was in. I think he or she has a number of these available. More of these notes. Just a really good pickup, really good sale of a star. And then finally, we're going to end it off on this really cool one. And again, I forgot this one even existed. 1880 Indian Head Cent, another one for you guys, all you fanboys of coin shops and shows and cherry pickers can find. This is what they call the accented E variety. It's also Snow 13 as far as its attribution. Yeah, check out the little raised area right above the E in 1. That's what you're looking for, and that is the variety in question. Coin is in really nice shape, probably a good solid XF 40, maybe 45. This one sold for $124.98. What a really cool sale on this one. But, ladies and gentlemen, all good things must come to a close. That's going to go ahead and wrap it up for the Wednesday edition of the Pocket Change Market. Blank. I forgot report. I'm probably not going to live that down with myself. So anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. It was a lot of fun. A lot of cool stuff to hunt out there, so make sure you're doing that. But that's going to go ahead and wrap her up. Oops. Yeah, I was on eBay looking at stuff, as you guys know. So I wish you guys all the best in your hunts. Again, if you're in the southeast region of the U.S., please be safe. Don't be a hero out there. Those winds are really crazy, along with all the sideways rain that you can encounter. But that's going to go ahead and do it. You guys take care. Have a great day, and I will see you on the next coin video. So long.